We've got a great conversation lined up for VVS and Steve, and it's to do with the plan of attack or the line of attack that India's bowlers chose yesterday, and maybe we can even make a comparison with what we've seen of England today. What we have seen, we discussed it yesterday with Steve Harmison and VVS Laxman too, was India's fast bowlers wanting to attack the stumps. We've got some data and we've dug it out on that being just a pattern that India's bowlers have employed when they've been in the Sena countries, South Africa, England, New Zealand, Australia. Now, yesterday, gentlemen, 7 out of the 10 wickets India took in that innings were essentially balls aimed at the stumps. And if we look at the numbers overall, we're seeing a percentage in excess of 31 that India bowl within the stumps in Sena countries since 2018. And the wickets taken are nearly 50%. That's a pretty high number when the general perception is that in England you aim to bowl outside the off stump in the channel and try to nick them. So the first thing I want to ask both of you, Steve, maybe you first up. What does it tell you that India's bowlers have come with this line of attack and it seemed to be successful in the first innings?
If I was a bowler, I'd be bowling straight over England because I don't believe England's if I was in charge of a team going against England, I look at England's top 7 and I'll be going, well, I want them to hit as many balls as they can with their bat. But the simple fact is, I do not believe their techniques are up to standard for Test match status, especially if I've got a bowling attack of Shami, Bumrah, Siraj, and Thakur. So I think it went very, very quickly. And Virat Kohli went very, very quickly, probably inside the first hour and 20 minutes. From just outside of stump where you would want to bowl in England, and create a channel out there to. I don't believe these guys' techniques is good enough to play international cricket. And they moved just outside of stump to Joe Root. They bowled straight to everybody else. I think that was a great plan, a master stroke from Kohli. His field positions were very, very good, and his bowlers are a little bit quicker than England. A little bit quicker than England bowlers. So you can go that little bit fuller because you can catch people on the crease a little bit more. England haven't got that luxury. They're about 4 or 5 mile an hour, a little bit slower. And when they go from outside off stump to straighter against the likes of, KL Rahul, who's a shot maker, Rohit Sharma, who's a shot maker, that little bit less pace can give you the chance to hit the ball comfortably down the ground. Or use the risk that a lot of Indian players have got through mid-wicket. So I think that's the difference between the two sides. You can look at the bowlers, but I think you have to look at the batsmen as well and who the bowlers are bowling to.
That's very interesting. So VVS, is it as simple as bowling straight or attacking the stumps is always smarter against what you perceive to be a weaker batting lineup?
I think just the stats which you read out, it's about last 2 years in Sena countries.
Yes.
Now, India has played in South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, the last 3 years. I'm not talking about even 2018 England series.
Yes.
Now, naturally, we discussed this yesterday. The Indian fast bowler, compared to the English fast bowlers, are more hit-the-deck bowlers. Which means that the more they bowl on good length or just fuller length, all the hit-the-deck bowlers, like someone like Steve Harmison, or say Hazel would always look to hit the top of off stump, whereas swing bowlers look to take the ball away from the right-handers. And except in New Zealand, rest of the other places didn't assist too much of swing bowling, but there was definitely a lot of lateral movement on offer for the fast bowlers. And whenever there's lateral movement, you always look to attack the stumps. Now, coming to Steve's point about the English batsmen, I always feel that if the batsman's technique is compromised, if the head is falling, the easiest dismissal is to create that bat and pad gap so that you can get them bowled. Or whenever they're playing the ball on the leg side, like the way we saw Sibley get out yesterday, they offer a chance on the onside, either at short mid-wicket catching area or also at short leg. And that's why probably the plan of attack yesterday for Shami, Bumrah, Siraj, and Shardul Thakur, more so the first 3 names I mentioned, was to look to bowl the ball straight and attack the stumps. And there was not too much of swing offer in that post-lunch session. So I believe it's dictated by the batsman you're bowling to and also the conditions you're bowling on.
When we compare types of fast bowlers, though, Steve, the fact that India's bowlers are more accustomed to bowling in line with the stumps, it's a plan of attack that's regularly assorted to in the subcontinent. Does that in any way make them more potent when they're trying the same thing overseas?
Yeah, but I think when you're looking to set batsmen up, you've got a set plan for each batsman. There's no way in the world I'd have bowled off stump against a Sachin or a VVS or players of that stature that can hit the ball down from outside off stump through mid wicket. But there are players you'd look at and you think, well, if I bowl straight here, he falls over. He creates a different, a different dismissal altogether. I think in England, the bowlers that India have, you talk about hitting the deck. They have got English type bowlers. Bumrah is an English type bowler that looks to hit the pitch hard and get something out of the surface. In England, your margin for error is a little bit larger from a seam bowler point of view because you can hit that sort of good length, short of a good length, or just above, just beyond a good length, and you can get away with it. Over in the subcontinent is a completely different game. So I think because they've learned a lot of lines and lengths being in their own country, because predominantly bowl with a white ball, and you have to be straighter and tighter on off stump, they're actually not changing their game plan too much from a white ball to a red ball. They're just basically saying, I'm going to put the ball in and around off stump. I'm going to let the surface do the work and the conditions above do the work, and that's what you have to do in England. They're a little bit quicker, like I said before. They're a little bit quicker than the England bowlers. England bowlers haven't got that mark. They've got a little bit less margin for error, and that's why you see the likes of Broad and Anderson bowl a little bit wider than off stump because at their pace they go straighter. It's just it's food and drink for the subcontinent batsmen who hit the ball nicely down the ground and well through mid wicket.
I wonder where the two of you stand on this in terms of players who played in what was, maybe this is a popular or unpopular opinion, but perhaps a more competitive era of Test cricket, where you had perhaps more formidable batting lineups around the world than you do today. But is that a way possibly for fast bowlers to are we going to see that as a pattern in Test cricket for a few years now, VVS? If you look around the world and you think of how many teams possess strong batting lineups, a number of batters that are technically sound in different conditions. Do you think this is the way that more and more bowlers will resort to? I have the numbers from the World Test Championship. India got a lot less wickets bowling straight there against New Zealand. You think New Zealand's one of the better batting lineups now in the world. But barring that, looking at England now, looking at other teams, do you think this is the way that Test cricket's going to be now?
Yeah, absolutely. And no disrespect to the current generation of batsmen, but I think I definitely feel that the defensive technique is compromised. And whenever you're playing Test matches, what we have seen is majority of the Test matches you're getting whistles, which means that you're playing on pitches which are conducive to fast bowling, or in subcontinent which are conducive to spin bowling and also reverse swing bowling. So I think that's when the defensive technique and the temperament of playing those long innings, making sure that you get past the tough, challenging spells from fast bowlers. I think that is definitely missing in modern generation of batsmen. And one of the reasons for that is too much emphasis on power play, too much emphasis on being a good white ball batsman. And I think it's always a give and take. In life, if you want to achieve something, sometimes you get compromised in other aspects. And here I think a lot of young generation of Test batsmen are compromised as far as the defensive technique is concerned and how to see through a challenging spell from a quality bowler.
Steve, you spend so much of your time bowling to Sachin, Dravid, Ponting, Hayden, and Callis. You think you'd have played in this era that 2-6 could have gone to 3-6, maybe 4-6?
Yeah, I think I must admit I made a joke yesterday about England's two openers and the way they move about a bit, and I think 4 stone heavier than what I was at my playing days and 42-year-old. I reckon if I could bowl enough balls at off stump, I'd get them both out even now. So yeah, and it's tongue in cheek, and I don't like having a go like that. I just look at people's techniques. And VVS has just mentioned there and talk about batsmen and powers, and there has been I would say a difference across this era to the generation before on results per test series. There's a lot of results now. There's a lot of test matches going 4 days and not 5 days. But I've just watched a session now with Broad and Anderson bowl. Okay, decent lines, decent lengths, good areas. England have bowled not bad. And 2, what you would say are power play players. 2 players who dominate the IPL, smash white balls all over the shop, stand in English conditions, nicely balanced, pick their bat up straight, defend the ball when they have to, over pitch ball, they hit the ball for 4, and respect the surface and the bowlers have just played on. The difference, I think, in the modern generation of the game is the techniques that some people have got can't play multi-formats, and there are some people who can play multi-formats, and I think India have just shown that. Rohit Sharma and K. Rahul, a simple technique of picking the bat up straight and staying still with your head still and trying to hit the ball and comfortably leaving the ball. I think that's the difference between the two sides, because England's techniques look all at sea,